Hey, me, Makari. You join Discord and Twitch. Hey, thanks, bye. Don't we all love democracy, being forced to watch things that we may not necessarily want to? And the reason I'm kind of more privy to watching this is because the title has me in it, and I don't like it. And I feel like I'm about to get a lot of accusations and realizations of myself in this video. So the video title of the video is called I Found Out I Have ADHD. You guys know how we do this. Go and watch the original and like Jaiden's video and go and give that relevant viewership that she deserves. The fact that she's able to animate... Like, I have full respect for Jaiden for the fact that she can pump out a 17-minute animated video, like, once a month. I can barely get 17 seconds of animation done in a month. But that's because I'm also cripplingly depressed, and having any executive... having executive dysfunction is a real bitch.
You ever think to yourself, man, why is it so hard for me to just do the things I need to do?
I hate this video. I hate this video already. No, I hate this video. No, I didn't need this. I didn't need this. I'm literally going through a midlife crisis where this is the leading contributor to my depression, my anxiety, and everything wrong in my life. Why is it that in the first sentence, this has already made me feel so self-conscious about myself?
And focus, and remember things, and manage my time, and be organized, and remember things, and not get sidetracked. Ha! Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I'm in this video and I hate it.
I was pretty much the picture-perfect depiction of a good student. I was well-organized, always turned in my work on time, got good grades.
So, I'm Jaiden, but British? That was my experience in high school as well. I was a very good kid. Until I found World of Warcraft that became my hyperfixation and took all of my attention away from my education. Like, I was an A+ student. I was an A+ student through all of my school. Up until 2007, when I found World of Warcraft, and I tanked my grades because I spent all of my time that I should have been revising, raiding in Burning Crusade.
And did my homework on Fridays instead of procrastinating until Sunday night. Sure, I didn't like studying and found it hard to focus during it, but who didn't? Saying all those qualities put together, that doesn't sound like the brain of someone with...
See, if I had the time, I wish I could make animations like this. And who knows, maybe I will once I'm free from the confines of having to do an X amount of patron work every month. Because here's the problem, I can make stuff like this. My biggest problem at the moment is that the time that I would be spending on projects like this are currently dedicated to working on patron commissions because I need financial stability, which I don't have currently. Kill me.
With any kind of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, does it? I was well behaved, didn't feel like I struggled much in school,
ADHD.
And didn't cause any trouble.
2, if you're in this video and you hate it.
That is, up until I moved out of my parents' house for the first time to go to college. Gradually, I started slipping. I began skipping classes a bit.
I'm literally in this. This was me up until I went to university. Like, okay, maybe not to the exact degree. Like, when so I think if I didn't have World of Warcraft, so I have a very addictive personality. I get addicted to things very easily. But it has to be like a very specific thing. Like, I have this tendency where the more, like right now, for example, I'm going through a manic state of depression. It may not seem that way because I'm great at putting on a mask, but the more I'm struggling mentally, the more I end up relying on hyperfixations to keep me away from my struggles. So right now, and it's going to sound very hyperbolic, I am hyperly fixated on Darktide. I try and do something constructive, something that I want to do, but the apprehension and the confrontation dysphoria of wanting to do it makes me feel anxiety and fear and really upset at myself because I don't want to have to risk doing something that's sort of like important to me and risk failing it. So rather than practicing my guitar, doing the work that I need to do, that I need my spoons to do, I resort to zero brain rot, basically. Like Darktide. And it's like, in the psychological world, in the psychiatric world, it's considered a coping mechanism. Because you have this stuff that you want to do, and this is very prevalent in the ADHD spectrum. People with autism, ADHD. Executive dysfunction and hyperactivity are a way that your brain cope with emotional and I want to say like consistency turmoil, but it's kind of a hard way of explaining it. You are so passionate about what you want to do. You have all this like creativity and bountiful amounts of energy for wanting to do something, but your consciousness and your subconscious are aware that there's something wrong in your sort of equilibrium. So your brain's natural response to that is to not necessarily shut down, but isolate that creativity and make you feel like you don't want to ruin it. So you then focus on things that aren't going to require your brain to be as active. When you as someone with ADHD start hyperfixating on a game or something that's very low energy, that's your body's way of managing stress, and it's your body's way of trying to put yourself in a comfort zone. It's a similar concept for age regression. Age regression, there's the element of trauma response, but it's hyperfixations and age regression, that kind of stuff. It's the response to a negative thing happening. It's a survival response. It's the way your brain tries to deal with emotional stress, physical stress. It tries to put you into that survival state to get you back to some state that you were in that was good. Something that your brain can identify as not being in that bad state. And I know that with my ADHD, with my depression, whatever, when I'm really bad, I can't do anything constructive. Because my brain will instantly start thinking, well, shit, what if I fuck this up? What if I'm not able to pay attention to it enough and get out what I want from it? I'm going to feel worse for not having done that thing. So we're going to do the thing that's not as energetic and doesn't require as much brain cells. I say this as somebody who's very good with psychology and stuff. But I feel like that's where a lot of this ADHD, and I say this from watching this, I see myself a lot in this just because of that.
Bit when I just didn't feel like going, would wait until the last moment to start classwork, and lost a lot of motivation because I wasn't interested in any of my schoolwork. But overall, even though it was pretty out of character for me, I chalked it all up to the fact I was simply over going to school. At the same time, my YouTube was really kicking off, and all I wanted—
I'm in this video. This was me. Like, in my 3rd year of university, my Twitch and YouTube started kicking off, and that became my full-time job. I literally had no reason to be in university because I was already doing my hobby as my full-time job by the time I'd left university. Which meant my executive dysfunction for doing coursework was non-existent.
wanted to do was that. Of course I wasn't gonna be as good of a student when the silly YouTube videos were doing numbers. I finished a single year of college and convinced my parents to let me take a gap year to see where this YouTube thing can take me. Spoiler alert, the gap year turned into me never going back. I'm a college dropout. So
I wish I had done this. I wish I had listened to my inner monologue and just dropped out of university. I ended up leaving university with a degree, which is great. But it was a degree that told me I knew how to do what I did before I'd gone in. And I hadn't actually learned anything in university, because when you go to arts college, they don't teach you things. They just give you projects that you're supposed to self-teach on. So all you come out of university with when you do something like art or animation is hopefully a bit better knowledge of the business side of things and $32,000 worth of student loans. Haha! Communism. Democracy.
Great, I've eliminated the boring school part of my life that weighs me down. Now I can go back.
This right now is me with my patron work. I'm doing my patron work because I need to, but I feel like it weighs me down on everything else and I hate it.
Back to being organized with my new exciting passion job.
Yes, capitalism, thank you.
Which entails being my own boss and having to manage and assign myself all of my own responsibilities 24/7. Why are the voices not getting quieter? It's almost like everything was going backwards. I was having a much harder time staying organized, and if I didn't want to do a certain type of work, I would have to shackle myself down in basically an isolation chamber to be able to get it done. If I found a new interest, it would—
When she says shackle down in an isolation chamber, that's me. But if I ever have to force myself to focus, I listen to I kid you not, ADHD music. I listen to this kind of stuff. This helps me just enough to focus for more than 5 minutes to get something done if I need to really focus.
Was all I could think about. And why is it so easy to suddenly be on your roof watching a YouTube video on how to know when you need new shingles? I really didn't get it. Child me had it held together more than...
So my current experience is I've only really become aware that I'm ADHD and maybe mildly autistic in the last, like, 2 years. And it's that, if you guys, I don't know if you guys can, like, relate to this, but it's really annoying. I won't say annoying. It's really upsetting. I don't even know the word for it. It's like, now that I'm aware that I'm autistic, ADHD, whatever, knowing full well that that's one of the reasons why I struggle with certain things, and then kind of seeing that in my day-to-day life, thinking to myself, well, I had a mild breakdown of this in this social interaction. Was that my ADHD and autism, or was that just me just not being able to want to deal with that day? And then knowing full well that you're never going to be able to do the way you want to do things because of that spectruminess. And just wanting to, like, be fucking normal.
Burnt me. What went wrong? I could look back and recognize how everything used to be so perfect and easy. Look at tiny Jaiden and all her ducks in that row. I used to color code every single.
It never used to be that simple. You always struggled with, like, even if you look back into your life, into your younger years, if I look back into my childhood, I think I would have thought at the time everything was simple and easy. But in reality, it's because I wasn't aware of my struggles. And really, those times that I struggled, I thought that was just normal. I thought that me having a problem that was sort of ADHD or autism related was just what everyone dealt with. And knowing now that it was neurodivergency or something like that really makes me think, God, I just, like, being aware that you have that makes it better, but also worse in a way.
Single binder
Wondering how you can now deal with it.
And now I don't even know where I placed the 20 bucks I literally just had in my hand 3 minutes ago. I haven't even left the room. Genuinely,
where damn it, I feel this on an emotional level.
Despite feeling like I was downward spiraling for multiple years, I never suspected it could be something.
I go into a room to try and find a thing, and I'm like, 10 minutes later, I leave the room with everything other than the thing I went in there for. I've made myself a sandwich. I've watched half an episode of something on TV. I've walked around the room doing my squats for the day. But did I get that thing I went into the room for? No! Or, like, I'll pick something up and want to use it, but I'll put it down for like 2 seconds so I can do something. Will I remember where I put it? No!
Related to a genetic neurodevelopmental disorder. I just thought I wasn't trying hard enough and being
that's
lazy
been my experience,
or applying
I only got diagnosed maybe last year.
Oh, the woes
but
of
it
turning
made me
into
realize
an
a lot
adult,
about my
I
childhood.
suppose. Maybe the best years of your
Why I
life
struggled
truly
socially
are
as a
in high
kid when I was
school.
younger. And if anything, like, it's weird because I'm a massive extrovert. I went to a convention recently. I love socializing. But when I was in high school, I struggled to make friends. And now I think back to it, I'm like, I wonder if that was my ADHD/tisminess that really made me like that, or whether that was just because I was socially fucking awkward and played too much World of Warcraft. No, I'm not the problem. The other people were weird. They should have been weird like me.
How upsetting. I didn't even enjoy those either. But then one day I got a text from my brother. I got diagnosed with ADHD. It was a pretty big surprise for me because growing up, he never really seemed to show it.
I think one thing that needs to be stated here is that things like neurodivergencies really have only had a lot of stuff made about them in the last, like, 10 years. Back when I was a kid, back when I was in high school, you know, things like ADHD, autism, Asperger's, they were known, but there wasn't really much to be done about them. Now, however, there's much more public knowledge. There's much more ways of dealing with those kind of things. There's much more like public knowledge of how you can kind of go like live with those kind of things. Whereas back when you were a kid, you just never had any information. Nobody really cared. And especially in England, like England especially is atrocious at helping kids identify if they have any neurodivergencies. So most kids in England never really even identify if they have any of these problems to begin with.
Any of the typical symptoms you associate with ADHD. You know, people would always describe ADHD to me as super hyper kids who would run around the room and scream and generally be.
And then 50 years before that, they would have called it mental illness and locked you in a loony bin. How knowledge evolves our brains.
A lot. That wasn't my brother. He was quiet and well behaved like I was. But when he started explaining his symptoms, the gears started turning. Yeah, I've always
This was me. Somebody was like when I found out that I was ADHD, it was because somebody was explaining their symptoms of ADHD, and I just said, and without any word of hyperbole, I just said, wait, You mean that's ADHD? You mean that's just not normal? You mean that's not just how you are? That's not how everyone is all the time? What the fuck do you mean that's ADHD and autism? That's me! How is that? No
struggled a lot with focusing in school and having things hold my attention when it's boring. But like, I could hyperfixate on things I'm interested in and get really passionate about that stuff. Hearing him talk
like me spending 9 years of my life playing World of Warcraft and raiding rather than doing my homework.
about his personal symptoms of ADHD made a lot of sense, and I felt very freshly educated on the topic. And you'd think that I would immediately start looking into getting a diagnosis for myself, because if you were paying attention, my brother's experiences all sounded very similar to the same struggles I've been having in my own life, but related to work instead of school.
It could never be me.
But nope, I was just like, good for you, bro. Happy for you.
Nah, I'm normal. I'm totally normal.
Or, I'm sorry, I don't know. Anyway, back to struggling to simply open up my drawing program as if 2 blocks of iron were welded to my wrists. Imbalance of brain chemicals? Nah, this just happens from time to time. It's normal. Just the laziness kicking in. I hate Mondays, am I right? Even though I didn't instantly think there was a possibility of me also having ADHD, the mental seed was planted. It's genetic, so I knew subconsciously it ran in the...
It's like masking as a trans person. Oh boy, you mean I'm actually woman and my pretending to be male was something I did as a coping mechanism because that's the only way I could stay safe and that's what I thought people wanted me to be rather than living my own life? Whoa, what a concept. Masking's hard.
Bloodline. It took a few years after my brother was diagnosed for me to really sit down with myself and consider that I, too, could have ADHD. Shocking revelation, I know. Foreshadowing, where did you come from? Things in the focus and productivity department were just getting worse and worse. I had the attention span of a cartoon dog, would completely...
This is me literally right now. I had a big old talk at the beginning of today's stream about how much I'm struggling staying on track with any of my projects. And I hate it. Because things like stress, things like IRL turmoil can exacerbate ADHD and autism tendencies. I mean, you think brain fog is bad? You ain't seen brain fog till you've had ADHD and brain fog at the same time. And it's funny how a lot of this stuff tends to be alleviated when stress and anxiety gets reduced. And it's all well and good, like with all these diagnoses and stuff. Medication isn't always the answer either. Like, for every medication, there's always side effects. I personally, I was put on Zagtin, which is like Adderall. And when I'm on it, I can certainly focus, but it makes me very numb. And unfortunately, my England is terrible for this kind of stuff at the moment. We've had a massive shortage of ADHD meds, and I've been off my meds now for maybe a week and a half. And I'm feeling, like, emotionally great. I'm feeling much more, like, active in myself. But can I focus for a damn on anything that I need to do? No.
Forget things as soon as they entered my head, would hyperfixate on random
It's in your back
stuff
pocket.
like an
It's
addict,
in your back
and
fucking
there was
pocket.
constant civil war happening inside my head to get one thing done, even though I knew it would only take like 15 minutes.
This is how it goes. This is how it goes in my experience. So, you have the thing that you need to do. The thing you need to do. And in your head, you're doing mental gymnastics to say, well, I could just go straight ahead and do the thing. But if I start doing that thing, that's commitment. That means I'm going to be dedicated to doing this. So if I'm doing this, it means I won't be able to do these other things. So I'm going to do these other things first before I do this main thing. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're watching a quick YouTube video. You know, you're having a quick game of some kind. But then that one game turns into 2 games. That one video turns into 2 videos. And all of a sudden, what should have been a straight path to doing that thing that you should have been doing has now spiraled into this thing of you slowly edging your way towards doing that thing, but kind of veering off in a different path. And then eventually you're like, well, shit. I spent all this time doing these side things. The time I should have been spent doing this main thing is now so little that there's no point in me doing it today because I just don't have time to do it anymore. I think I just described ADHD in its clinical definition.
Minutes. You don't understand. It feels like physical torture to make myself sit down and lip sync a simple scene, like most of the time. You know, the thing I've been doing for 10 years at this point and am definitely used to doing. And yeah, once I've gotten going, then I'm honed in and you have to...
Yes, I'm like this. I like the apprehension of starting and commitment is what prevents me doing mine the most. But when I made...
Pry me away
when I made... when I start working on a big project, like for example, the intro for this, when I got started making this intro, for example, it took me 9 hours, and 8 of those 9 hours I did in one sitting. That's because I got started. You know, I edited my fucking ass off. But if I can't get started, I won't get started. Because that is the superpower of hyperfixations. If that is your hyperfixation, you will do it religiously. You will work so goddamn hard on it. Like when I start working on a bit of artwork, for example, the piece that I drew yesterday, this piece, this was probably about 7 hours worth of work. And I'd say 90% of that was all done in one sitting. But that was only because I started it and I could focus on it. But the apprehension of starting it, like before I started working on this, I spent most of my time watching a YouTube video or whatever else. So I totally get where she's coming from with this. I really, really do. Thank you for the raid, Scully. But yeah, this is hitting very close.
I'm aware of that part, but no, I'm still gonna scrap with myself to plant my ass in that chair because I don't even know why at this point. The biggest thing holding me back from feeling like I had ADHD has always been the simple memory of being in school and having my shit together.
Right! That's exactly where I am. I always have this sentiment of, I never used to struggle, therefore it can't be that bad. It must be something hyperbolic of this moment in time. There's no, like, when I was younger, I never struggled as much. When I was younger, I never had these issues. So obviously that means right now that can't be the problem.
I know what it feels like to be on top of things and to be organized. I had it all in the palm of my little child hand. I just needed to summon it again with a bit.
You know what you don't have when you're a kid? Responsibilities. You don't have to do your taxes. You don't have to worry about organizing your day, because most people do that for you. So all those mental spoons that you would have been using organizing your day and sorting out your taxes are used keeping your life together. And all of a sudden you hit the age of 22, 23, 24, 25, and then you're kicked out of your house, and all of a sudden life hits you in the proverbial balls.
More effort, but a light switched off in my brain and suddenly I'm just not capable of the things I used to be, and it feels pathetic.
This actually hurts me so much because this is exactly how I feel. I miss being capable of feeling confident in what I do. And this actually like makes me kind of feel a bit weepy inside because I know exactly how this feels because it's how I feel right fucking now.
Simple tasks are such a mental burden, it feels like I'm out of control but can't do anything about it. So finally, I figured I would try and get myself diagnosed. What did I have to lose? If anything, they just tell me, no, you don't have ADHD, try a little harder and stop complaining. And yes, of course it took me like 8 months after deciding to get diagnosed to schedule the actual appointment. What did you expect?
Or be in England where it takes you 4 years to even see someone on the NHS. Hi, welcome to England, where if you want anything on the NHS, you have to wait 4 years for it to get done. Or you go privately and pay $500. Yeah, I had to pay big money to get myself diagnosed. In fact, fun story, I'm still waiting for my NHS appointment. And I applied 3 years ago. I'm also waiting on another appointment that I assigned myself for my current representation 5 years ago. Love living in England.
That's
love
like
this
the
country.
first checkmark box on the ADHD list. I started seeing a psychologist.
Isn't it funny as well that the absolute hypocrisy of needing to see a specialist about your executive dysfunction requires you to make an executive decision? Just the process of trying to speak to a professional will usually help you realize whether you have ADHD or not.
And he would ask the typical, do you have a hard time focusing? And I'd go, yeah, like this one time yesterday, and then he writes something down
Holy
as I
shit.
continue rambling
Thank
on
you for
this
the resub. 7 whole
hyper-specific
years.
example way too long
7
for a
years of bad
neurotypical
sex,
person.
but
I
good
met with him
content.
for a few
Love you,
weeks,
Makari.
and then it came down to diagnosis day. The nerves, man. I was so ready for him to say I'm a normal person who needs to suck it up. But instead, he was like, okay, so yeah, you definitely exhibit symptoms of someone with the inattentive type of ADHD and autism. Yippee! My stroke.
That was what I see myself in Jaiden so much here. Like, my psychiatrist, when I got diagnosed with ADHD, literally said, yeah, you definitely have ADHD with certain underlying elements of autism. I was like, oh, can you diagnose me for autism? No, that's not my speciality, but we can say for certain that you have some elements of autism. Yay! Because the thing is, though, ADHD and autism, they're kind of two sides of the same coin. Like, you can have ADHD with traits of autism, and many traits of autism are signs of ADHD, so it's kind of like wherever you lie on that proverbial line, as it were. But you can be one and not the other, or the other and not the other.
Struggles are justified. I'm not crazy. Wait, what was that last part? He explained all the different ways ADHD affects me and the different areas I struggle with compared to others. He even gave me a 37-page document of his conclusions and information on how my brain works, with graphs and pictures. I've read through it all a bunch of times now, and it's already really helped me understand how I tick. I call them the autism docs, but I'm not gonna get into that side of the diagnosis. Let's just brush that one away for now. There's a couple types of ADHD you can have: hyperactive, inattentive, and combined, which is both hyperactive and inattentive. Hyperactive is...
That's me. I'm 100% hyperactive and inattentive. But usually the inattentiveness is exacerbated by stress.
The type people typically go to when they think of a loud kid who can't sit still. People with this kind normally need to fidget, have low patience, tend to...
Can you please stop calling out the fact that I've been playing with a Rubik's Cube this entire time? Please. That was actually probably one of the things that made me realize I might be slightly ADHD when I was younger. Like, I always thought that because I was an artist and that I draw every single day, that tendency of drawing every day made me need to have something in my hands to fiddle with. But maybe that was an early calling card of the fact that I have ADHD, the fact I always have to be doing something with my hands.
Talk a lot and have trouble staying seated, especially when they're expected to, like in a meeting or school. Inattentive is the one where someone experiences difficulty in focus, memory, organization, has a low attention span.
Yep. I will say, in terms of organization, I'm pretty organized. I have everything where I need it to be. And I'm a little bit of an I want to say a neat freak, but I don't like clutter. I don't like things just being where there's no need for them to be. Like, if there's just something randomly sat out in the middle of the floor, it upsets me. And attention is a definite yes.
Span. That's the one I have. It's self-explanatory, but if you have the combined type of ADHD, then you got it all. ADHD jackpot right there, my friend. I brought up during the appointments that I used to be such a good kid in school with seemingly zero ADHD symptoms, and how that part has always confused me. And he had a couple hypotheses about it. One, since my mom has always been a big source of my organizational influence, I was able to depend and lean on her for the majority of my school life for it. I felt like I was naturally capable of staying on top of things because she was right behind me the whole time, reminding me and guiding.
Yep, that's kind of the way it goes. You have so many support elements when you're younger, and the second those fall away, you're like, wait a minute. Those people were helping mask the fact that I'm immensely incapable of looking after myself. Oh no.
me through stuff. So when I moved out, everything started crumbling, which lines up pretty perfectly to when I did start struggling. Another explanation he gave was the fact that ADHD
Yes, I am
affects
still
women
playing my Rubik's
differently
Cube.
than
Leave
men,
me alone.
which is also less researched. Love to hear that one. Not only do women tend to be able to mask their symptoms better than guys, so it goes
Oh, I know a lot about masking. I know a lot about masking.
much more unnoticed, but they also experience ADHD differently.
You want to hear some fun shit? Back when I presented back when I used to present male, if I ever had an issue, like a medical problem, the doctors would be all over me. Oh, you're a man and you're concerned about this physical illness? Oh, get into the hospital right the fuck now. The second I started presenting femme, and as any woman out there will probably attest to, the second you're a woman and you have a medical problem, they're like, oh, it's just your period. You're complaining about nothing. It's no big thing. Men being upset at something though, oh, there must be something wrong though.
And research says there's a chance it can just start affecting women later in life. I'm no ADHD scientist though, that's just what I've been told by specialists. I don't know, I've just got the dang thing. Either way, those two explanations make a lot of sense to me and have since put my weird ADHD imposter syndrome to rest. I didn't really think that getting a diagnosis would change much about how I go about my life, but since getting my ADHD certificate and lollipop, it's completely revolutionized how I think and go about getting things done.
Because the thing is, once you know, that helps you understand how you can start dealing with it. If you never know you have it, you'll just keep perpetuating the same process without trying to improve things. When you know, you can start compensating and trying to find ways to adjust to that knowledge.
It's still hard to get my ass into gear when I need to do one normal thing that's not difficult, but I'm much less hard on myself and will strike almost like these kinds of mental deals to loophole myself into
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only person who makes these mental deals with myself. Like, I'll sit there doing artwork and I'll tell myself, okay, Makari, you watch 2 more videos and then you'll start working. Sometimes I go back on myself and I make that, I make my mental self regret the day that it ever made a deal with me, because I'll go back on that deal and completely ruin my own mental trust. But I do this all the time.
Getting things done. Like, for example, if I really don't want to edit a video, I'll say to myself, okay, I know it's going to be super hard for me to immediately start that task, so I'll get myself into the mindset of getting things done by doing a simple other task I don't find difficult. Like,
what did I just fucking say?
Cleaning my room. That way, I'll feel productive and can transition that into tackling the original.
Dude, I get that so much. Like, in my head, I'll be telling myself, okay, I've got to go do this thing. But you know what? Let's go tidy my room. Let's go practice my guitar. Let's go do these other things that are productive that I need to do so I can feel more confident of dedicating my time to this bigger project. That's how my brain works.
Task much easier. It doesn't always work, but it's the mindset change and overall understanding that sometimes I'm gonna have to go about things in different ways that's helped me a lot. Also, after being diagnosed with ADHD, I didn't have much desire to get medicated. I figured just knowing I have
okay, I think medication is it's far too glorified. I think it's a bit of a red herring. I don't think everybody needs medication, and medication can often be a double-edged sword, because if you get medicated, you're going to get side effects. There's going to be there's going to be things that, like, for everything that medication helps with, it's going to make something else worse. That's just the way medication works.
It would be enough to get things into gear, and I didn't really need medication that badly. But the content creator in me also thought, well, if I'm gonna write a script about having ADHD, it would be nice to be able to talk about what it's like to be medicated, even just for a day. So I got prescribed good old classic instant release Adderall. Instant release until I had the Adderall in my hands when I realized the idea of taking it for the first time made me nervous. Like,
Yeah.
what is this thing gonna do to me? I have so many
You have that mental thing of saying, hey, it's gonna change me. Oh God.
friends with ADHD. Honestly, a higher ratio than friends without it. That's how it goes in content creation. All these MFs have it. They were all telling me that it's awesome, how you'll take it and immediately feel like a god, and you can do anything and it's incredible. And yeah, that's
I remember talking to Zagamus about this actually. Because I think that was like a point where I was talking to Zega and I was like, Zega, all these things are happening to me. Are these ADHD? And Zega just sat me there and said, yes, Makari, you 100% have ADHD, you muppet.
sounds great, but also like,
I'm glad
what the
you
hell?
found it.
What do you mean I take this little pill and suddenly all of my problems seemingly disappear and I gain superpowers? That's scary. That sounds like the thing every adult in a 20-mile radius warned us about when we
That sounds like a 3 a.m. YouTube challenge.
were kids. Am I gonna feel like a completely different person? I don't know if I'm ready to experience immortality. I put off taking Adderall for so long because I was irrationally scared of the tiny blue pill, but coincidentally,
I get this feeling so much.
really needed to get a script
see.
done.
Thanks,
If I
that's
take
fine.
too long to write a video script, then the team runs out of work to do, and then I have a bunch of people sitting around and waiting for me to give them more work so they can pay their bills and survive and stuff. But for the freaking life of me, I just could not.
I'm honestly a bit upset that I haven't watched more Jaiden stuff in the last. You know, if this video does well, we might do a bit of a Jaiden binge at some point. But again, I've never really sat down and just watched Jaiden's animations in the past. No idea why.
Get myself to sit down
That's why I
and
need a
write
manager.
that script.
If I could
My
afford a
body and
manager,
soul
I would
found
love
it
one.
mentally easier to backflip off a bridge than write words on the computer.
Oh, yeah,
After
Tia,
literally
we can do a little
2
collab of it.
months
I'd
of
love
my
to.
brain going, ooh, you better
A
write
little
that
friendo
script.
session
I
with,
won't let you enjoy a
brain rot.
single moment of your life if you aren't writing that script. I don't wanna. Get up, go to the bridge. After that constant loop, I finally swallowed my fears and took my first Adderall. I had talked to James a lot about
forbidden
what
fruit.
Adderall is like since he's been on it for a few years now. And after I took one, I was messaging him like, I did it. I ate an Adderall. How long does it normally take to start?
I was like this. I was like this with Zegamus. I took my first Zagatin. I was like, I took it. What now? What's it gonna make me feel like? Zega, what's this gonna do to me? It's like, well, you're gonna feel a bit more hyperactive. And I was like, oh god, not more. I'm already hyperactive enough.
How do I know? What do I do? And he was helping me a lot and giving me tips. Then, like 20 minutes later, I felt it. All the non-stop thoughts going on in my brain went silent. I could think clearly, and in like a line. My mind wasn't racing a mile a minute. I was able to sit behind my laptop and write. It was incredible. I was messaging all my friends about it the entire time. I can write my script and not get distracted. I don't have to take a mental break every 10 minutes. I can remember things. Kelsey sent me a message and I thought, I'll check that in a bit. And I remembered to check it in a bit and respond when I
I don't think either the stuff they prescribe me isn't good enough, or I need a better version of the medication. Because I notice with Zagatin I get better, but not by a tremendous amount. Like I go from like a 5 in forgetfulness to a 6.
opened a new tab to look something up. I didn't go down a random unrelated rabbit hole. I picked up my phone to check something and didn't impulsively scroll Twitter for an hour. I can write words so easily. How am I doing this? What do you mean I can feel like this whenever I want if I just eat the tiny blue pill? I refuse to believe regular people can function like this on a day-to-day basis. No way. It wouldn't be fair. You guys don't have loud, non-stop voices in your heads preventing you from doing normal things? Come on, just admit it. You can't pick something up and immediately keep remembering what you were supposed to be doing with it. You always forget and feel crazy. Come on. I was so suspicious that on Adderall,
Again, this is like the problem with British medication stuff. They never really follow up. I would love to like try a different medication, but I know that I'm not going to unless I go private, and it's just annoying knowing that there is the possibility of me having a better solution out there, but my doctor's not being willing to try me on it.
either nothing would happen and I just wouldn't feel anything, or I would feel like I'm a totally different person experiencing some higher than life manic episode. But no, I just felt like myself.
And then you sit there realizing, wow, I wish I would have had this 20 years ago so I could have been normal like the rest of the fuckers out there. Like, how have I been, like, why am I unlucky to the point where I have to put up with this bullshit, where my life has been stunted because of the voices, and everyone else has been lucky enough to be neuroatypical, but I've had to put up with this bullshit my entire life? I mean, sure, it means you've been dealing with the hyperbolic time chamber of power creep, and that once you've finally gotten rid of the voices, you're able to function above anyone else's capabilities. And the second anyone else starts getting ADHD tendencies, they're like, oh god, you mean this is what you had to put up with the entire time? And you're like, yep, that's how it is.
But with my shit together. And that's the part I couldn't believe. After 2 months of war, I finally was able to plant myself down and write my damn script. You wanna know what script I wrote while experiencing Adderall for the first time?
This one.
This one. I was struggling to write a script about ADHD, and the thing that finally pulled it out of me was Adderall. Come on, you gotta admit that's funny. Yeah, it was great. I didn't think my head was loud before, or I was that impulsive, or had that hard of a time focusing. But now that I've been able to peacefully sit in one spot for hours and not need to take a break or check social media or get distracted by some stupid tangent I don't actually care about, yeah, this changes things. I still can't believe what I was able to accomplish. Writing a script.
You know what the fun thing is? I have an identical twin sister. She doesn't take ADHD meds, but I do. And we both present like we both have different, like, we might be identical twins, but our like presenting symptoms of ADHD are immensely different. Kind of wild, really. Like, we might be physiologically identical, but she has much more of the spectrum of the autism side, where I'm much more of the spectrum of the ADHD side. But she doesn't take medication for it.
Script in 3 hours, compared to my typical 12 hours, aka one mediocre thing with no struggle at all. And you want to know what I did right after I wrote this script? I immediately got up and cleaned the birds' room, without rotting in bed for 3 hours beforehand. I just went from one task to another without thinking about it. All you neurotypical people must be thinking I'm literally pathetic and useless, but I know my ADHD brethren are out of their chairs right.
Yup. Yup. It must be nice being neuroatypical. Must be nice. Fucking wish that was me when I was younger. I wish I could have gone through life being neuroatypical, but no. Imagine how much more accepted and normal I would be if I was actually neurotypical. Ha ha ha.
Thanks, Ariane, for the sub.
Right now hearing that. I'm not standing before you all to give you scientific data and information on ADHD, or diagnose you, or even promote prescribed drugs. I'm just here to talk about a big and recent experience in my life, how much of an impact and effect it's had on me, and how awesome feeling normal is.
Learning.
Seriously,
next video we're gonna watch is gonna ruin this all entirely.
Silence is incredible. Cherish that feeling if you don't have a neurodevelopmental disorder. It took me 26 years.
To anyone that's neuroatypical that's watching this right now, or watching this on YouTube, cherish that normality and pray that you never get ADHD. You lucky motherfucker.
To realize my woes were not actually woes, but symptoms of brain chemical deficiency. I'm writing this video, all things considered, pretty recently after being diagnosed, and I'm still trying to learn how to rebuild my life in a way that lets me optimize my productivity and get things done at a normal level. But so far, I've come so much further than I thought I could simply by knowing what's going on up there in the old noodle. And Adderall. If you're on the fence about being diagnosed with something, I get it. It's scary. It's scary to think
my ADHD kicked in. I wasn't listening to what she was saying. I was admiring how great the hands were. Like the art, I went from watching this for the sake of a reactionary thing to being like,
something.
Damn, I wish I could draw hands that well.
I get it. It's scary. It's scary to think you might have it, and it's also scary to think you might not have it. It's an odd place to be. But for me, having a concrete answer from a professional is what got me to finally stop feeling stuck in place and actually start moving forward again. It's been great. I'm excited to keep learning more things about how my mind works and find new ways to improve my—
Okay, but who else wants a plushie? Who else wants a brain plushie that looks like that? Like, I know we're talking about ADHD, the irony of being distracted. I want a plushie like that. My ADHD tells me, shut up, Jaiden, give me that plushie. Give me that plushie right now. I want that. I want my own little brain that I can squidge.
My day-to-day life. Cheers to getting normal shit done.
Fuck
In case you missed it, I have new merch. For a limited time, you can get yourself a new and improved Ari plush and a completely new soft Ari jacket.
Oh my gosh.
I love both of these products.
What a video. I love this. I love this because I was in it. I hate it also because I was in it. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe, like, and stuff, and go and watch the original because I know that you guys love being called out in videos like this. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.